Welcome back, my friends, to another video here on the channel. Today, I'm going to be doing my very best to explain to you guys the Kingdom Hearts 3 ReMind secret episode ending, and it's pretty crazy. So a year ago, obviously, we had the epilogue, and then we had the secret movie of Kingdom Hearts 3, and I did my very best to explain those, and you guys seem to enjoy those videos. And now, obviously, with the ReMind DLC, we got a whole lot more information. Essentially, you know, the ReMind DLC at its core is basically Sora going to save Kairi. It's kind of filling in the blanks on how he actually went about doing that. It is worth noting, if you guys don't want any spoilers, click off the video. It's obviously going to be packed full of spoilers. But that said, it's also worth mentioning that, you know, like any other explanation video, the only people that can really explain this 100% and be 100% spot on and accurate is, of course, going to be Nomura, the director and creator of the game. Otherwise, some of this is going to be speculation mixed in with facts, mixed in with, you know, observations and different things like that. So with that said, we're going to jump straight into it, and we're not going to waste any time. So the first thing is that I want to mention is that Riku actually talks about having a dream about Sora at the end of the Limit Cut episode. So if you guys play the Limit Cut episode, there's a cutscene before you do the 13 bosses, and then there's a cutscene at the end, and he talks about having a dream, and the fairy godmother is actually sent by Master Yen Sid and Merlin to basically talk to Riku about his dreams he's been having. And he mentions that he had a dream about Sora and about all these tall buildings, and he was being watched and things like that. And basically, the secret movie of Kingdom Hearts 3, the original secret movie, is Riku's dream. So we can see Riku in the same world as Sora. That's basically why we see him in that area or in that world that Sora's in, that kind of looks like a real world. Again, if you guys want more explanation on that world and the 104 building and all that, I kind of dove into that a little bit more in my explanation of the Kingdom Hearts 3 secret movie. I'll link it down in the description below. So I'm not going to waste time kind of re-explaining those things. We're focusing just on the new information that we have. So like I said, in Riku's dream, we can see that Yozora is watching Sora and Riku, and we never really understood why. We also see an appearance from the Master of Masters, who kind of makes a shape with his hands, like a box symbol over the real moon, before he makes kind of a heart shape with his hands over the moon. And again, this is a real moon. Everything's very realistic in this world. Now, what's interesting is, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead for a second. Yozora actually wakes up in a car in the real world. I wonder if that means that he has access to the world that Sora is in just simply by sleeping. Kind of sort of the way Riku is going to this world in his dreams. Is it sort of linked in that same sense? Is everything connected to this world based on dreams? How does it work? Not 100% sure, but I thought that was worth mentioning. Now, when Sora actually meets Yozora in the place that seems to be a night kind of version of the final world, Yozora is actually surprised that Sora knows him. Sora, of course, knows him from the Toy Story world, which, by the way, Nomura, again, director of Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy, he said that Kingdom Hearts 3 would not have been possible without the Toy Story world. Now, before we jump ahead, it is worth noting that if you guys know much about Final Fantasy, there was Final Fantasy, what was it, like 13, what was it called, 13 and a half or whatever? I can't remember the name. But anyways, Yozora seems to be heavily based off of a character from that game, which was Noctis, Callum, if I'm pronouncing it right, which that name can either mean Sky of the Night Light or Sky of the Light Night. So Night Light or Light Night, it basically the same thing. Sky of the Night Light, which kind of is what it seems to be when Sora and Yozora are meeting each other in what seems to be like a night version of the final world. Very interesting. Now, Yozora doesn't seem to know who Sora is, and so when Sora introduces himself, Yozora says he's heard of Sora, which is very interesting. But Yozora says this isn't the real world, but that he is actually there, but that isn't what he looks like. That Yozora himself, this is not his normal appearance. So I don't know what Yozora normally looks like, but apparently that's not what he looks like. Could it be that Yozora actually is Noctis, and he just has a different image in the world that we're seeing Sora in? What's really interesting is that he then asks Sora why Sora is using the name Sora, as if he knows Sora by a different look. Like Like, why are you using Sora's name? That's what he says. So could he know of Sora, but by a different look? And then again, could this world that both Sora and Yozora are in, could that be changing their appearance? Or the world that we basically have been playing all of this time, or this universe rather, that we've been playing through all the Kingdom Hearts series, could all of this be a place that isn't the real world? Maybe it's just a made-up world, a dream world. We're going to get into that a little bit more a little bit later. But again, it's kind of interesting that, Yozora is saying that his look is not normally like that, and he seems to know Sora by a different image. So maybe Sora looks a little bit different in an actual real world. I don't know. It's crazy. Yozora then says, if Sora is who he says he is, and if it is fate that brought them here together, that then his path is clear, which then he proceeds to pull out his weapon, and the boss battle begins. Now, what's really interesting is that the ground beneath them first turns into kind of like a dive to Sora's heart, that image, but then it quickly turns into the roof of the 104 building, while the surroundings of them, which was the night sky, turns into this city. It almost looks like it's all like a simulation, like it's all been just kind of made up by Yozora somehow, which again is very interesting. So I'm starting to think that this place, or the city anyways, is just a fake city that Yozora's kind of like creating somehow with some kind of simulation. So apparently Yozora also says that he accidentally wandered into this place and that he went through some sort of trials. Now, I definitely think that the trials spoken of have to do with the Reaper's game from The World Ends With You, especially considering, where Sora is and how his heart's kind of faded, if you will. I went a little bit more in depth with The World Ends With You theories in my Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Movie explanation, which you can also find here on my channel, which is something that we kind of speculated on when we watched the secret movie. I was thinking, maybe Sora has to do something, he has to go through some kind of trials in order to return to, his own world. So it's kind of interesting that now we're getting kind of further information about, trials in this kind of place that they're in, that Yozora had to go through. So I don't know, thought that was worth mentioning as well. Now, Yozora interestingly says that he was told to save Sora. We obviously seen that the Master of Masters is in this world in the Kingdom Hearts 3 secret movie. So could it be that the Master of Masters is the one that told Yozora to save Sora? We know that Sora essentially changed time by going back in time to save Kairi. That's basically what the whole ReMind DLC was about. The Master of Masters does know how all of the future is supposed to unfold after all. If you guys didn't watch the Kingdom Hearts back cover movie, then you definitely should go watch that. It's like a 1 hour quick like cutscene movie thing that they made in order to kind of explain a little bit of the backstory about the Master of Masters and just a bunch of stuff like that, like at the beginning of the Kingdom Hearts timeline. So very interesting stuff. You guys should definitely check it out. But anyway, so we know that the Master of Masters knows how the whole future is supposed to unfold. It could be that whatever his plan was or is, that he needs Sora to be restored to their own world, as now Sora has basically kind of screwed up the whole timeline. He's altered it, which will now cause problems. This could also all be linked somehow to the black box as well. Whatever the black box contains, I have no idea. No one knows. That's kind of the thing that's probably going to be about the next saga of Kingdom Hearts, if you will. Now, there's two endings. There's a bad ending and a good ending, and I think either ending can easily tie into, Kingdom Hearts 4, whatever's coming next. So basically for the bad ending, what happens is if you lose the boss fight against Yozora, Sora is basically frozen and crystallized, and Yozora says, I will save you. So he somehow, I guess, is preserving Sora to figure out a way to save him, help him return to his own world, I guess, or maybe he's trying to get him to return to the real world. So I don't know. Like I said, maybe all of Kingdom Hearts isn't actually real. He's trying to get Sora to go back to whatever real world it is, where, Sora, I guess, maybe has a different appearance of some sort. I don't know. It's all very, very confusing, but, maybe there is a possibility that Kingdom Hearts, as we have known it all these years, is going to be changing drastically. I kind of hope not. I would like to see some more realistic worlds introduced. Sure, that'd be cool. But at the same time, for me personally, Kingdom Hearts, one of the biggest appeals is just, having all these cool Disney characters, mixed in with all these, Kingdom Hearts characters and sometimes Final Fantasy characters, and just kind of those worlds and the way, there's just the way that, Kingdom Hearts has kind of been is just very, very special and unique. Again, it'd be cool to see some, different kinds of worlds and more realistic worlds mixed in, but I wouldn't want to see like, the Disney stuff go away either. So that's just me. But anyways, the point is, I digress. Let's get back to it. Interestingly enough, we see Yozora wake up in some kind of real world after sleeping in a car. And this happens at the end of both the good and bad endings, but it's a little bit different in the good ending. We're going to get to that in a second. You see Yozora alone in the final world, though, right before that, while it's daytime this time around. Now, we're going to explain the final world a little bit more in a second here, but first, the good ending. So if you beat Yozora, he says, I guess that my powers are not needed yet. So his powers are going to be needed, I guess, to help Sora to some extent, whatever his powers may be. I have no idea. But when Sora asks him, what does that mean? He basically says, never mind, before he fades away. So again, it's whatever his powers are, they're going to be needed, I guess, to help Sora in his next journey. I don't know what that's going to be. Your guess is as good as mine. And then this time, for the good ending, we then see Sora in the final world instead, which is during the daytime as well. So what is the final world? In case you guys don't know, maybe you don't know and are not very familiar with, this world, is basically the world that looks like a big sky, right? So this is from the Kingdom Hearts wiki. According to Chirthy, the final world is the edge of reality just before a heart ceases to exist. And so it is nested closely to the station of awakening and the realm of sleep. Okay, keep those in mind. Those who dream and or visit the station have a chance to catch a glimpse of the final world, as Sora does when he begins his journey. More generally, the final world is inhabited by faded remnants of hearts, usually of people with attachments so strong that they cannot pass on. Okay, so we've seen that with all like the stars and stuff in the Kingdom Hearts 3 main story. Obviously, we've seen this world which Sora and Kairi pass through at the very end of the ReMind DLC. So we're very familiar with it by now, throughout Kingdom Hearts 3. Again, it's very interesting that it's closely nested to the Station of Awakening and the Realm of Sleep, which again, I guess could tie the connection to, Riku having these dreams about Sora, and Yozora, how he's waking up in a car after what seems to be that he was, in this dream world talking to Sora. I don't know. It's very, very confusing, like everything else with Kingdom Hearts. Anyways, the point is, this time around when the cutscene ends, you then see the person driving the car that Yozora is sleeping in. And this person says, impressive, is it not? Since you only see the driver if you beat Yozora, could it be that the driver knows Sora and has even fought Sora himself before? But who is this driver? Now, interestingly enough, I kept listening to it. I looked at this face as much as you could, because you can kind of see a little bit of a reflection of his forehead in the mirror. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the reflection of his forehead in the mirror, his hair looks blondish. If you look at the back, I guess the lighting makes the back of his head not look so much blondish, but it's definitely blondish. And if you look at his reflection in the mirror, he kind of looks similar to LUXORD, and he sounds like him. He definitely sounds like him. Listen to the both of them, side by side. They sound almost identical.
Impressive, is it not?
So that we can rot away on the bottom rung.
Impressive, is it not?
Impressive.
Not just that, but the fact that he says, impressive, is it not? Impressive seems to be one of his catchphrases that he actually says when you're battling him, when you find him amongst the cards. So, I don't know. What does this all mean? It's crazy. I'm pretty sure, though, that this is LUXORD. Moving on. Last thing I'll mention is that both endings, both the good and the bad endings, they both end with the same phrase, which is spoken by Yozora and Sora at the same time. The phrase is, I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this real or not? None of this makes sense to me. Now, what's absolutely insane is if you don't know this, the very beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1, the very beginning of all of this, the beginning of Kingdom Hearts as we know it, starts off with that exact line. The opening cutscene of Kingdom Hearts 1 says the same thing. I've been having these weird thoughts lately, like, is any of this real or not? And then, interestingly enough, the beginning of that cutscene in Kingdom Hearts 1 kind of seems like Sora is falling into some sort of dream, and then he wakes up on Destiny Islands as we know it. So again, could this kind of be something that was foreshadowing the fact that all of Kingdom Hearts has been some kind of dream, that it's not real? I don't know. I feel like I would be bummed out if that's the route they go. But interestingly enough, Nomura actually said the following about that line. He says, I wrote that line so I could reuse it someday if I had the occasion. I don't think you'll get what I mean at all, but back then, adding that line is what made the world of Kingdom Hearts approved. Almost as if to say that, Square Enix or the higher ups or whatever only approved of Kingdom Hearts by adding that line, which I don't know. This mystery won't be resolved now, he says, but I think we're at the entrance of the way leading to it. So, could it be, and it does seem to be, that whatever we're seeing at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 is literally the entrance of this being resolved. It kind of seems like they're resolving this line, saying that, this isn't real. None of this is real. And maybe the fact that he says, adding that line made the world of Kingdom Hearts approved is that, maybe the higher ups back in the day were saying like, well, how can you add all these Disney worlds and Disney characters? And he says, well, hey, if I add this line, then that explains it, right? I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Is any of this real or not? I don't know. Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's all fake. Maybe all of Kingdom Hearts as we know it, my friends, has been one big dream, and none of it has been real at all. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I thought all this information was interesting. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Again, I would kind of be bummed out if that's the route they go, that they kind of, end the Kingdom Hearts series, or if they not necessarily end, but if they bring it into a thing where like all of the Disney stuff as we knew it, all of Kingdom Hearts up until now was basically fake, it wasn't real. That would kind of suck in my opinion. Like that would kind of be like, oh man, I don't know. It feels like it would take away something from how special all of this has been leading up till now. So I don't know. I kind of hope they don't go that way, but I do want to see some more realistic worlds kind of, mixed in as well. I don't know. You guys give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Finally, Kingdom Hearts secret episode ends with an oath to return, which I assume it can mean many different things. It's an oath to return to Sora's world. Maybe it's an oath to return to the real world that we've never seen up until now. I don't know, but there's an oath to return in Kingdom Hearts, and we're going somewhere next. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe, guys, new. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, my friends, game on, and may your hearts be your guiding key.